Hey, if you get a chance to look up at the night sky this week, you are in for an absolute treat. The final supermoon of the year is making its grand appearance. And trust me, it's a celestial show you will not want to miss.
So, the real question is, are you ready for it? Yup, the third and final supermoon of 2025 is happening this week. This is it, folks, our last chance this year to see our celestial neighbor looking its absolute biggest and brightest.
Okay, but what does that even mean? What actually makes a full moon super? Let's dive into the science behind this incredible spectacle, and trust me, it's simpler than you might think. So, a supermoon is basically a cosmic combo deal. It's when you get a full moon, and that full moon just happens to line up perfectly with the point in its orbit where it's closest to us here on Earth. Simple, right? Closer moon, bigger view. And this slide right here really breaks down why this happens. You see, the moon's orbit isn't a perfect circle. It's actually an ellipse, kind of like a stretched out circle. That means that sometimes it's closer to us, and other times it's farther away. So when a full moon hits that sweet spot, that closest point, boom, that's a supermoon. And this is a really great point from NASA. While we all love throwing around the term supermoon, they're quick to point out that it's more of a popular nickname than some strict scientific definition. Different experts might have slightly different cutoff points for what officially counts, but the general idea is exactly the same. The moon is closer, and it just looks awesome. Now, it's good to know that while every supermoon is special, they aren't exactly a once-in-a-lifetime thing. They usually pop up in clusters, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And this week's event, it's actually the last in a series of 3 for 2025. Okay, so let's get to the good stuff. What can you actually expect to see up there? How much bigger and brighter is this thing really gonna look? All right, let's talk size first. At its peak, a supermoon can look up to 14% larger than what we call a micromoon. That's when the full moon is at its absolute farthest point from Earth. To put that in perspective, think about the difference between a nickel and a quarter. It's that kind of scale we're talking about. But what's maybe even more impressive is the brightness. It can shine up to 30% brighter. And that's a pretty big deal. It's often the extra brightness that people really notice. It can seriously light up the night sky. But here's a little reality check, a pro tip, if you will. Don't go out there expecting to see a cartoonishly huge moon suddenly pop into the sky. To your naked eye, without another moon right next to it for comparison, that 14% size difference can be, well, kind of subtle. But don't worry, there is a trick to really appreciate it. And that trick is all about something called the moon illusion. This is that incredible optical effect that makes the moon look absolutely gigantic when it's rising or setting near the horizon. Your brain is basically being tricked by having things like trees and buildings in the foreground, which gives you a sense of scale you just don't have when it's high up in the empty sky. That is when a supermoon looks truly super. So the key is to catch it low. But you know, it's not just about the science. This moon actually has a story. Full moons almost always have names that tie back to the seasons, and December's is no different. According to the Old Farmer's Almanac, the name Cold Moon comes to us from the Mohawk people, and it marks the arrival of winter's really deep cold. It's also known as the Long Night Moon, a name from the Mohicans, for a pretty obvious reason, right? It shines down on us during the longest nights of the entire year. All right, so you know the what, you know the why, and you know the story. Now for the most important part, your guide to actually seeing this thing. Okay, listen up. You've got a 3-night window here. The moon is going to look full on both Wednesday and Friday night. But the main event, the absolute peak, is on Thursday. That's when it reaches peak illumination, right around 6:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you can make it, that's the time to head outside. And you want to know the best part? You don't need a telescope. You don't need any fancy binoculars. All you need are your own 2 eyes. Just find a nice, clear spot, preferably with a good view of the eastern horizon right around sunset. That's when you'll catch the moonrise and get that amazing moon illusion effect we were just talking about. So, when you look up at that winter sky, what are you going to see? A scientific event? A piece of living cultural history? Or maybe just a beautiful, bright light on a cold night? There's only one way to find out. Go take a look.